Hi, welcome to Drawing Club. Today we're drawing Stella the Stinky Skunk. This is Stinky Stella the Skunk. And to draw Stella, you will need a pencil and an eraser to erase any mistakes, and maybe a pencil sharpener. And you'll need a black pencil crayon or a black marker to outline her with at the end. And you might also want some color pencils or some color markers to color with. Okay, but as usual, I'm going to use this gray marker to draw with just so you guys can see what I'm doing. So we're going to start Stella with a big oval shape for her face. So nice and big. Because her head is quite a bit bigger than her body. So we want to make sure that that's a nice big shape. And then I think we'll do the shape of her body next. So just another... This is a longer oval shape. Just like this. And then for her feet, just two more little ovals coming out the bottom of her body. And remember, if I'm drawing too fast, you can always pause the video and catch up. Okay, so let's go back up to her head and we'll give her that little tuft of white fur that skunks have at the top of their head. So I'm just going to make these curving lines. Almost looks like a little tuft of grass or something coming out the top of her head. Like that. And then let's give her those big eyes. So two... Oops. One big round circle and another on the other side. Like that. And then I'm going to draw a part of a circle inside the eye. Like this. And the same on the other eye. Like that. And then a few little bubbles for the light. One there, a smaller one there, and the same on the other side or on the other eye. Big one, and a little one. And then last for the inside of the eye, just a curving line like that. Okay. Now there's a white part of Stella's face, so I'm just going to make another curving line just to show me that this part in here, underneath where the hair is going to be white. And the same there. And for her nose, I'm going to make a kind of a... It's going to start like a little bit of an oval shape, but then I'm going to bring it down a little bit. It almost looks like a little bubble-shaped T for her nose, and then a little circle inside there for some light shining on her nose. And then for her mouth, I'm going to draw a kind of a circular shape there. Also to remind myself that this should be white, and then a little curving line for a smile there. Now she does have some eyelashes, so I'm going to just make this line here at the side of her eye a little bit thicker, like that, and then give her these three eyelashes curving out the side of her eye like that. And I might make this part a little bit thicker here, like that. I think this gray marker is starting to run out. I'm going to have to get myself a new one, like this, and then the same on the other side, like that. 1, 2, and 3. And I shouldn't forget, if I thickened the side there, I should do the same on the other side. Otherwise it won't balance. Just like that. Okay. Now for her arms, I'm going to just bring them a little bit outside of her body and then back in again. Almost like a little balloon there. And then the same here, from inside and then a little bit outside the body and then back in again to the shoulder. She does have a white patch on her belly, so I'm just going to make a big circle on her belly. Just like that. And I'm going to change the shape of her head a little bit. I want to bring it in just below the eye there and then back out again to make a kind of a cheek. And then again here, in a little bit, and then out a little bit to make the cheek. And the last thing I'm going to do is that big tail she's got. So I'm just going to make a line coming out like that. I'm going to make a big line sweeping all the way up past her head. Like that. Bring it over a little bit like that. And then back up. You can change the shape of the tail if this is a bit harder for you. If you want to, it doesn't have to look exactly like this. And then just make it a little bit thinner here, where it comes back to the body. And then one more set of lines just to show where the white stripe is. So I'm just going to follow my first lines and just redraw them a little bit further in on the tail. I do think that this gray marker is almost at the end of its ink, so I think we're going to have to throw that one away and get ourselves a new gray marker. Okay, and so that is all we need to do for the pencil part. We'll move over now to doing using our black marker to outline with. And I'm not going to go over every single one of these lines again. We'll see, I'll leave some of them without a black outline because I might want to erase some of these pencil lines. So we can start up here with the tuft on her head. Just going to carefully outline it. Now, skunks are an animal that we can find here on Prince Edward Island. I don't often see skunks. In fact, I don't know if I have ever seen a skunk in nature. But boy, have I smelled them a lot. Skunks, of course, are famous because they are one of the stinkiest of animals. Because they have a special gland that they can spray a very smelly substance out of, which is a kind of defense that they have. But skunks are mammals, which means they have warm blood, and their babies, they don't have eggs. Their babies are born alive. And they're kind of part of the same animal family that weasels would be in. And we know, the most famous skunks are the ones, when we think of a skunk, we usually think of them being black and white. And that's because most skunks are black and white. But actually, there can be some other colors. Sometimes it's not exactly white. It's more of a cream color, the white part. And some of them are actually more of a brown and white. And some of them are more of almost a ginger and white. But the ones most people think of, we think of the black and white. And it's funny, that black and white coloring is actually a warning to other animals. It tells other animals, you better stay away or be careful because this animal has some sort of poison or defense or some way to, to defend itself. And so you'll often see that animals that have a very strong poison or some sort of spray, they're often black and white or red and black, or they have sort of strong colors that let other animals know, hey, back off, be careful. Skunks have really strong muscular legs and really strong claws for digging with. Because one of the things that they like to do is, well, first of all, that's how they make their homes, is that they dig holes, they dig burrows, but also they dig for food. If you ever watched, or if you watched the Going Buggy video about the Pelecinid wasp, you might remember that there are a lot of June bugs, babies or their larvae, they live under the ground. And one thing that skunks like to do is dig them up and snack on them. But they are omnivorous, and that means that they eat plants, but that they also will eat animals or insects, pretty much whatever they can find. They'll even go through garbage like raccoons. They call those scavenger animals that will pretty much eat whatever they can find. Interestingly, they have really, really strong noses. They've got a very good sense of smell, and that's one of the ways that they can find their food. And they have a very strong sense of hearing, which is another way they can find their food. But I know I've given her giant eyes here, but in real life, they don't have very good eyes. In fact, they really can't see anything that's far away from them. They can only see a few meters in front of them. And that's unfortunately why it's easy for them to get hit by cars, because they can't see very far ahead of them. So they don't really see if a car is coming. So that's why it's always a good idea, when you're driving in the evening, to always keep your eyes on the road. This is not so much for you kids who are drawing this, but maybe for your families, the adults in the family who drive. We often see animals like foxes or skunks coming out in the twilight, when the light starts to get a little bit darker and it can be harder to see, and that's unfortunately when they'll be on the road. So we always need to be careful to try not to hit them. Of course, if we do hit them as well, they will release that terrible stinky spray that they have for defense, and then it'll smell for days and days and days. As I said, I'm lucky. I've never met a skunk, because being sprayed by a skunk is a very not nice thing to happen. Not just because you smell terrible for a long time, and I don't know, I always see in movies and TV shows people trying to have a bath in tomato juice. I have no idea if that would really work or not to help, but I do know that it takes days for the smell to go away. And, dogs will get sprayed by skunks a lot, and that can be really, really gross and stinky. But it's not just the smell you have to worry about. Actually, that spray that they spray is so strong that it can even make you blind for a short time. Which is one of the reasons that skunks actually don't really get hunted by other animals very much. Bears and wolves and other animals that are very much bigger than a skunk, and you would think wouldn't be scared of skunks, are scared of skunks because they don't want to get sprayed, because it's very uncomfortable and very stinky and it hurts their eyes. So they will not hunt a skunk. One of the only animals that will hunt a skunk are birds, bigger birds, because they are not affected by that spray, which is interesting. Another surprising thing to me is that skunks don't ever spray other skunks, which is funny because other skunks are probably the most likely person that a skunk is going to have a fight with, because they live together and they might be fighting over food and things like that, but skunks will never spray another skunk, which is interesting. But also, a skunk doesn't really like to spray if it can avoid it, because it actually takes a long time for it to build up that spray in its body. And so if they usually will try to scare a predator off by stamping their feet, or by hissing and letting that other animal know, or person, you need to go away because I'm going to spray you soon. There we go. Okay, that is Stinky Stella the skunk. I'll bring back the color version. Now, I used a kind of a mix of purples as well as my blacks and blues to make her black part, but you could switch it out for other colors if you wanted. And then for her eyes, I gave her these kind of strange, I'm not sure why I went with orange and blue for the eyes, but you can of course change the colors to other colors if you'd like. All right, well, thanks for coming again today, and I can't wait to see you guys again at Drawing Club.